of the rebellion against the Empire?
Perhaps you referred to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet.
Where is the rebel base?
I didn't know there was anyone willing to stand up against the Empire.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Rebels Reaction. I'm Tyler.
I'm Christine.
On this episode, we're reacting to Double Agent Droid. Christine, your initial reaction in one word.
Emotional.
Emotional. I couldn't really decide on my word
Okay.
for this episode. It was both a fun episode, so fun would be one word, and terrifying.
Yeah.
Would be the other word. So it's kind of this interesting juxtaposition of how I felt by the end of the episode.
Emotional.
Sure. Okay, so let's go into your word.
Well, it was emotionally disorienting seeing Chopper totally taken over and turned into a spy,
Yeah.
an infiltrator and sabotager.
Saboteur.
My bad.
Sabotager.
I knew that didn't sound right.
Okay.
And then, which I want to get into that more in a couple minutes, but it was also super emotionally charging, both positively and negatively. Seeing Hera go into Mama Bear mode when she was just so pissed off that they messed with her droid that she just blew up an entire ship in a very surprising way. I mean, they've blown up ships before, but that one felt more vicious. It wasn't she's normally so by the book and she's mission oriented. This was a personal vendetta, she was gonna murder them.
That's definitely how it felt.
Yeah.
I don't exactly believe it wasn't believable for me the way that the ISB cruiser was
blown up. It did seem a little shocking that it worked.
Well, I get transferring data, and then there's some power, I guess, transfer or production as a result of that. But it seemed like, and I may need to go back and watch the episode again, but that Hera's whole intention was to transfer power, and maybe it's just the physics of the Star Wars universe, or really just my lack of understanding of physics.
That could be part of it too.
I may need to ask my brother, who happens to be a physics major.
Could it be an engineer?
Maybe. How that works, but overheating their system somehow, I kind of get that, but beaming power through Chopper to then blow up a ship,
Yeah.
a little far-fetched for me.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's fiction, it's a story, but it just kind of seemed like a stretch.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hera going full Mama Bear mode was awesome to see, and somewhat out of character.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun to see her
have more to her character.
Yeah, outside of just that kind of very straightforward leader.
Yeah, for her to get a little emotional, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Terrifying because she's pretty dang intense.
She can be, yeah.
But cool.
Yeah. I think that was one of the fun things in the episode for me, was seeing a little bit of Hera's personality. I felt like I really related to AP5 throughout the whole episode.
And slightly bitter.
Just bitter, just kind of why do I have to deal with other beings or droids? I can just take care of things on my own.
Do it all myself.
Sometimes I feel like that. Not all the time, but definitely there's times. And I think I need to give Amy Wishman a writer for Unmistakably Star Wars.
Oh.
She's written a couple articles, and is just a friend of the podcasts. She tweeted out not long after the episode aired, AP5, something along the lines of AP5 is kind of representative of
the patron droid.
The patron droid, yes, because I read it to you. The patron droid of introverts. And I just couldn't. There was something throughout the episode that I was just like, I just
bud.
get it.
I understand.
And then reading her tweet was like,
That's
exactly.
it.
So I just enjoyed kind of that interplay
Yeah.
of Chopper and AP5, and just kind of just the drawing out of a little bit of personality of AP5
Yeah.
was fun to see. It was kind of cool to see some more of Wedge, even though he was more of a plot device than really
Character.
a character. Yeah. So, and it was kind of good to see Chopper just not get away with doing whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of being a turd as usual, and then he pays for it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
All those
It's a
things.
bad decision.
So there's fun wrapped up in that, and I think the terrifying part wasn't so much Hera, because I thought that was just
Cool.
but just the ease by which Chopper was taken over.
Yeah.
And just kind of relating that to the real world. And I'm a little paranoid when it comes to computer surveillance and hacking and those sort of things. I try to be cautious, probably not always as cautious as I should be, but there's definitely been things that I've avoided. Different connected devices.
Yeah.
With that kind of in mind. So seeing that was just kind of like,
monitors.
baby monitors that have video feeds. Don't get it. No thanks. Don't need somebody.
Scares a little bit.
Yeah. But just the fact that was that easy, I think brings up kind of a question of why has that not happened before?
To a droid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that the ISB controller and the monitoring ship was looking for.
Yeah. It takes a certain amount of focus and being in the right time in the right place to be able to do that.
Yeah, but I guess, and the Empire is vast, many worlds, lots of droids accessing the network at the same time. So I guess kind of with that perspective, I don't see it as like, why hasn't this happened before? But
it seems like, that was easy.
Yeah.
That would be useful.
Exactly. So I found that kind of both terrifying and interesting.
Yeah. What I found really interesting about him being taken over is it's such a reminder of how much the droids in the Star Wars universe are slaves to their programming.
Yeah.
That they're not actually sentient, like they're not sentient. They're not true artificial intelligence because they can't escape their programming. They can't think beyond what they're told to think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I was curious about for a while, is that in every other science fiction story world that I've seen, any robots that are given artificial intelligence turn on their masters, turn on the makers.
Yeah.
They end up either killing off humankind or fighting off humankind in some way. And then in Battlestar Galactica, it happens it's like a 3 deep cycle.
Yeah.
It's like
Battlestar Galactica, Terminator, iRobot.
Yeah.
Like you could go on and on.
And so I've always wondered about the Star Wars universe. Like what's it the thinking behind how loyal droids are to humans or to aliens, or whatever, to sentient beings.
Yeah.
But then in Clone Wars, one episode, Obi-Wan Kenobi says, I can't remember what the context was, but I remember very clearly him saying if droids could think for themselves, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
And that was just an eye-opening thing that droids in the Star Wars universe are strictly robots. They seem to have personality, and they're funny and they're entertaining, but they don't actually think for themselves.
Yeah, their programming is so wide that it at least gives kind of that perception of
it's
personality.
very complex, but they're still just robots.
And there's a level of machine learning in there, a very high level.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we get that kind of personality that we see in like a C-3PO, R2-D2, Chopper, AP5.
Yeah. It's definitely not simple programming.
No.
Well, even in Aftermath, when they were talking about how Temin designed Mr. Bones, he designed him. It was a complex matrix. He didn't really know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he threw in some crazy things, and that's why Mr. Bones became this crazy dancing, leaping, acrobatic
death machine.
Singing death machine. But it's because of his programming. It's not because of learned behaviors. Which, watching this again watching this episode just reminded me of the whole kind of concept behind the droids in the Star Wars universe. And I always found it very fascinating that when humans come up with stories that include true artificial intelligence, the artificially intelligent beings always turn on their makers. I feel like that's ingrained in us as something we did.
Yeah.
Part of our own history, so we process the same way in our fiction. Mm-hmm. And in Star Wars, there isn't actually true artificial intelligence, which is kind of disorienting because it feels like the robots are sentient.
Yeah, they're definitely, at least that's a perception.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I haven't really delved into that either as a thought or research topic within Star Wars. But let's jump into the big three and just kind of get a rundown of the episode. So number one, we get mission launch, and I found it hilarious that Zeb and Ezra are just like, Wedge, you're a sucker.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah, pretty much. And then it's just Chopper and AP5 bickering
the entire time.
The entire way, and it's kind of like...
Oh, man.
Well, it's just that atypical dad in the front seats. Like, he didn't say, don't make me pull this Tidarian shuttle over.
Yeah.
I kick you guys out, but he's like, oh my gosh, no wonder I got chosen for this, because no one else wanted to be here.
No one else would do it.
Number two, Chopper's found out.
Yeah.
So finally, someone in the Empire recognizes that
he's just a painted droid.
Yes.
A painted rebel droid.
He does not belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that kind of cool that that there was someone out there listening. Mm-hmm. And I thought the cruiser design that they gave, it's one that we've seen quite a bit. Let's see if I can... It's a Gazanti class shuttle or cruiser.
Gazanti, yeah, that looks right. Sounds right.
Looking at the notes, but it had like giant dishes on it for receiving communications and transmitting, and it really reminded me of E3 Sentry transport aircraft that like the U.S. Air Force uses for communications and surveillance. So it's just got this like big dish on top of the airplane. Yeah, just looks like a normal commercial aircraft with a giant dish on the top, which is kind of what they modified this one to be. So I found that kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're out there listening and these ISB agents are paying attention enough, and because Thrawn has them looking. Yep. So
always back to Thrawn.
Yes.
He understands the rebels. He's finally actually getting somewhere with them.
Yeah. And I think we only have 3 episodes left in total after this one. So I think we're going to see kind of a culmination of at least part of that plan. hopefully.
Yeah.
But the fact that these ISB agents are out there listening, and they finally recognize this droid doesn't belong. The one piece I found kind of hard to believe, but then as I thought about it more, not as hard, that they wouldn't say anything to anybody. That they'd just be like, okay, let's jump to this base on Killin 71 and kind of just continue what we're doing instead of alerting anyone at the base to what was going on.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be the first move, but it also is kind of Thrawn's MO to take a step back and watch it all unfold instead of inserting himself and kind of changing what their behavior is going to be. So if they're told to do this by Thrawn, maybe that's part of the instruction or just part of their understanding of what he would expect and what he would want.
Yeah.
And the fact that their whole goal is to find the rebel base. If the droids become alerted to the fact that someone is onto them, they won't just hop back straight to the base and reveal it.
Yeah, and the goal was really to get the hyperdrive coordinates.
Yeah.
As opposed to just stop them from stealing codes.
Yeah, he mentioned the risk versus the reward kind of percentages.
Yeah, but there was definitely a motivation of, well, if I get this information, Thrawn's gonna be super
happy with me.
Yeah, exactly. So I found that kind of interesting in that dynamic of just motivation within the episode. And then we have number 3, Chopper takeover.
Yeah.
And
tries to kill everybody.
And then kind of Hera returning in kind.
Yeah.
So Chopper's taken over, and AP5 is immediately suspicious.
Yep.
Which
no one believes him because he always hates a Chopper.
Yeah, which I it's kind of the boy who cried wolf. Along with the fact that the ISB agents have no idea what Chopper's real personality is, and they try to figure it out along the way, but still really don't get it.
Yeah.
So I found that really fun and a great aspect of the episode. And just how that interplay really worked between the characters, and it seemed like a really believable situation.
Yeah. And also I brought up the difference between rebel droids and Imperial droids, which is also a representation of rebel people, rebel humans, rebel aliens versus Imperial people, Imperial agents.
Yeah.
Because the Imperials are all very, to the book, austere. They're very personality-less. And rebels are just this ragtag group of crazy personalities that are thrown together and don't always work together, but make it happen. And it just, there's so much more complex and broad as far as personality and activity goes. So it's just cool to see so clearly the division between what a rebel droid would look like, what a rebel person would look like, versus an Imperial trying to impersonate a rebel droid.
Yeah, and that I think that beyond just kind of Chopper's personality changing, the way that AP5 was able to respond to the other droid of his model.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's like, obviously she's used to following orders.
Yep, she's just like, okay.
And then he just turns around and is like, idiot.
Yeah. And he was a Imperial droid, but...
Yeah.
And even just recently, having been reprogrammed, he's already kind of caught on to the rebel personality, and his personality is expanding. And
yeah, which is fun to see.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they finally believe that Chopper's not who he used to be.
Yeah.
When they're locked in the cargo bay.
Yeah.
And they have to send AP5 complaining all the way.
Yeah.
To save them. Yeah. So, and then, as we've talked about, Hera went
nuts.
Yeah. Just
awesome.
Mama Bear. and
a glint of craze in her eyes.
destroying a ship magically,
Yeah.
or seemingly magically. Final thoughts on the episode?
The end, the very, very end with AP5 in the floating through space singing.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Was just too good. And then the him like accepting his fate and just like, oh, this is actually pretty great. And then the ghost comes and just scoops him up, and he's just pissed.
Again, that introvert of like, oh, this is I'm all alone. Maybe this is going to be kind of nice. And then he starts singing. Yeah.
With these weird space creatures that I don't know if are real or not.
Yeah. Was that a part of his imagination?
Do droids have imaginations?
Well, that's a whole nother question for another time, because we're almost out of time.
Oh.
Yes, that final sequence, hilarious. And he's just like, God dang it, I have to be with these people more.
I was so happy.
So, yeah, I think it was a kind of a combination of some unbelievable elements of kind of like,
Really, would that happen?
yeah.
It is space opera again versus hard science fiction. So
exactly. So there's some wiggle room there. To the terrifying fact that you can't let your droid connect to the network willy-nilly, to just kind of goofy, fun interplay between characters. So, I mean, I wouldn't call this one of the strongest episodes of the season in terms of really driving the story forward and being major shifts in Star Wars lore and the story overall. But I thought it offered some interesting things to think about with the ISB and what they're doing. Thrawn's use of them, so moving the chips on the table. Thoughts on droids and their role and what their how they operate. So things to think about and fun lines and aspects and interplay between characters. So definitely an episode I'd want to watch again. Yeah. But not one that had me on the edge of my seat wondering, oh, what's going to happen next?
Well, except when Chopper tried to kill everybody.
Well, yeah. So, I mean,
but not in the minor story, not the broad story.
Yes, I think it was somewhat of a bipolar episode. Yeah. From kind of cheeseball moments to super serious.
Like, oh, no.
Exactly. So, I saw some people complaining that it was a filler episode on Twitter.
It was a fun filler episode if it was filler.
Yes, exactly. So it may have filled an episode slot, but it wasn't like, I could have done without.
It wasn't like I guess it was droids, but there were sections of the Clone Wars where it was just like the droids off doing their own thing, and those were definitely filler episodes. This, even though it, I guess, was droids doing their thing, it didn't feel like that to me as much.
Yeah. So, good episode, worth a watch.
Yeah.
Maybe even a second watch.
Yeah. Especially if you're an introvert.
Yeah. Just so relatable. Well, that wraps up this episode of Rebels Reaction. Be sure to check us out online at unmistakably.starwars.com, on Twitter at unmistakably.sw. We'd love to hear your reactions and thoughts to this episode. Facebook.com/unmistakably_StarWars. I can't tell you how excited I am for next week's episode.
Don't tell me.
Twin Sons is the title.
Okay.
I've heard. I saw somebody post that's working with Lucasfilm. I don't know officially with Lucasfilm or not, but some inside knowledge that it's some of the best storytelling in all of Star Wars.
Really?
So I'm excited.
Oh man.
I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I'm thinking it's going to be a good one. So be sure to check us out just after that episode airs. But until then, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Christine.
May the Force be with you.